Can everybody hear me? What about now? Okay. All right. Hi, everyone. My name's Katie. I'm the department head of the Genealogy Research Center at Midland County Public Libraries. Today, we are going to talk about Mayflower Ancestry and how do we maybe prove that. So, we'll wait a couple seconds to see if anyone else wants to hop on here. And, okay, I think we'll go ahead and get started. All right, so are you a Mayflower descendant? A little bit of a background picture about the pilgrims. So a lot of people think that the pilgrims just came from England, but really they were a group of English people who came to America seeking religious freedom during the reign of King James. And after a couple attempts of trying to leave England, they moved to Holland. And that separatist group finally relocated to Amsterdam, and they stayed there for a little while. After that, then they made their way via the Mayflower to America. So the group that was in Holland, they moved to the town of Leiden, where they remained for a while. They stayed there about 10 years because Dutch law was a little less strict than English law. So they didn't want their kids to lose their English heritage and their beliefs. So that's when they made the choice to leave and start their own colonies in Northern Virginia. So they had two ships, the Speedwell and the Mayflower, but the Speedwell had to go back to England after a few problems. And in their second attempt to cross the Atlantic, they boarded the Mayflower in September of 1620. So, if you haven't noticed, haven't done the math, it is the 400-year anniversary of the Mayflower crossing over to America. So there were 102 passengers that started the trip. A few of them died, a couple were born, and of course there was the crew. So part of the people that were on the ship, they weren't all separatists from the English church. Some of them were part of that original group that came from Leiden and Holland, and then others were English families that decided to join just because they wanted to see their prospects in America and see what that would become. So they were referred to as saints and strangers, the saints obviously being the separatists who wanted to move away for religious reasons, and then the strangers who just wanted to see a new world full of opportunities. Okay, so the Mayflower set sail from Plymouth, England in September 1620, and there were approximately 130 people on board, 102 passengers, and the rest are crew. Of the passengers, 5 died before even coming ashore in America, and 45 more failed to survive their first winter in New England. Of the surviving passengers, only 37 are known to have descendants. So, you could very well be one of them. And all Mayflower descendants can trace their lineage back to one or more of the 22 surviving male passengers. You can see this word cloud. This was taken by AmericanAncestors.org, which is run by the New England Genealogical Society. They have lots of great information about New England, Massachusetts, the Mayflower specifically. So they did a survey, and these are all the surnames that come along with Mayflower descendancy. So of the people that applied and were able to prove their Mayflower descendancy that the New England Genealogical Society surveyed, these were the surnames that you got. So obviously the larger font is the more popular, the more numerous of that surname. And you can even see some of the surnames of the original Mayflower passengers, like Doty, you see Sampson, Richmond, but obviously the most popular is Bosworth and Bradford. So here's a list of all of the male passengers that survived and would be your ancestor possibly. So we're going to talk about lots of people are actually Mayflower descendants. It is very possible that you are a Mayflower descendant. And if you're a descendant of one Mayflower pilgrim, it's likely that you're descended from a second or more than one Mayflower pilgrim. So about 35 million people are descendants from the Mayflower pilgrims. And you could see some famous people there. You've got Marilyn Monroe, Alec Baldwin, Bing Crosby, and then lots of political figures as well. George Bush. Superman isn't a political figure in some people's books, but Christopher Reeve is descended from a Mayflower pilgrim. All right, so how do we get started? In genealogy, a lot of the time, you're going to start with you and you're going to work backwards. However, because there's been so much research on Mayflower ancestors and ancestry and lineage, you can actually start from the top and work your way down if you have a familiar surname. So if your last name is Bradford, then it's pretty likely that you could be descended from a Mayflower descendant. So you're going to start with the surname or the pilgrim with the surname that you have, if you do have that surname, and you can look at his family tree and his lineage. And a lot of family trees have gone to the 1700s. So that's about 5 or 6 generations from the Mayflower pilgrims. When they first landed, they had about 5 or 6 generations that reached the Revolutionary War. And that's where the Mayflower Silver Books come in. The Mayflower Silver Books are the singular best resource you can use when trying to prove that you're related to a Mayflower descendant. The caveat being that it's only about 5 or 6 generations in these books. However, just like I said, they start from the top and they work their way down. So each volume is one Mayflower pilgrim, and then that entire volume would be his family tree that goes down about 5 or 6 generations. So the Silver Books are published based on individual passengers of the Mayflower and their lineage. So far, Midland County Public Library has up to volume 25. There are about 31 published volumes currently. There are some things called the pink books, and that is the in progress silver books that the Mayflower Society is working on. And you can access those too. You can buy them through the Mayflower Genealogical Society. So the silver books comprise of about 11,000 pages, and they are indexed. They have about 7,750 fifth generation descendants, along with their spouses and children. So, like I said, it really goes down to the sixth generation, but it does not have the sixth generation's children or married partners. The actual record count will not be known until indexing is completed, but more than 150,000 birth, marriage, death, and deed records are in the silver books. And there's what the pink books look like. So they look like periodicals. They're constantly updating them until they publish them into a silver book. So when you first open the Mayflower silver books, you'll pick the book that matches the surname that you assume or are postulating that is your ancestor. So you can open it up and it gives you a little bit of a history about the authors and the Genealogy Society. And then it's very handy, they have a list of abbreviations. So if you're not familiar with reading genealogy books, for example, you don't realize that DAU is abbreviation for daughter, or ACK is an acknowledged deed, then they have that handy little list at the front. And then they begin with the main pilgrim. So the book I'm looking at right now is volume 25, and it has the lineage of Edward Winslow. So in the beginning, it starts with Edward Winslow, and it gives a brief biography about him. And then the rest of the book is divided into generations 1 through 5. So your generation 1 would be chapter 1, generation 2 would be chapter 2, etc. And like I said before, the 5th generation ends in about the early 1700s. This is also really handy if you want to prove that if you're trying to be a part of the DAR, or prove that you have someone who fought in the Revolutionary War, because of the convenient timing and period that the book ends, that the last generation ends, you should be able to find out whether or not your ancestor fought in the Revolutionary War as well. Okay, so now I'm going to show you this awesome website. This is about the second handiest research tool when looking up Mayflower Ancestry. So it's pretty easy to remember. It's just mayflower.americanancestors.org. So this is brought to you in part by the New England Genealogical Society, and it's a really great data or place where they house a lot of databases. Now, to access some of these, you will have to be a member of the New England Genealogical Society, which requires about a $90 a year due. But it comes with access to a lot of great things. So you can see here, you've got passengers, nations and cultures, confirm your ancestry. So that would be people that can help you. You can get verification. Searching databases. Events, so that would be like public education programs for members and for non-members. I know they have some free webinars right now that they're offering because of COVID. So you can learn from home, history of wampum belts, the Wampanoag scene, creating tribal legacy, and then a cool little shop where you can get some merch. So we're going to start with passengers. You can see that they have a list of all of our passengers of the Mayflower. So we said 102 was the passenger count, but they have 108, and that's simply because, like I said, 2 children were born on the Mayflower, and then it includes crew as well. So you can filter through these. You can see which ones died the first year, which ones returned to Europe, and the ones with surviving descendants left. So once you find, we're going to keep working off of Bradford, then it's just like the Silver book. You'll find a small biography, and then you can even view the complete biography. Sometimes people want to get the full picture whenever they're filling out their family tree. So they have lots of different resources here for you. The 7th century New England research, English genealogy, Massachusetts research. And then there's books that they offer. And then they have databases that you can access. So for free, here they have Plymouth County, Massachusetts probate file papers, 1686 to 1881. That is a large chunk of time that you can certainly use to your disposal. And then they have Massachusetts vital records 1620 to 1850. So essentially, vital records from the beginning of Plymouth to 1850. And then they have a lot more handy databases if you do choose to pay that $90 a year to become a member. And then, like I said, they have online courses and webinars, Puritan pedigrees, the deep roots of Great Migration to New England, which we actually have that book here at the library. If you don't want to pay for the course, you can come read the book. So, if we go to search databases, and we hop on, let's say we want to do Massachusetts vital records. They have their own way to filter through and look at the records. So I'm going to search for Bradford. And they will bring up all of the records that are in the silver books and in that Massachusetts vital records 1620 to 1850. So all of this is available online and you can view them. Some of them you do have to get the membership to actually view the record, which is very important. You always want to click on the image and view everything that you can, because you never know if someone's going to mention their neighbor or the goat that they gave to their sister, or lots of different stuff like that. Slaves, if they had any slaves, you would see that. So that's stuff that you want to dig a little deeper into. So like I said, it's really kind of worth it to get that New England Genealogical Society membership. So I'm going to go back to our Mayflower American ancestors. And we're going to, let's see here. They have, so they have more than just databases here. They have a historical timeline. So that would be the timeline of the Mayflower, of landing in Plymouth and founding the colony. If it'll load. So right here they've got a timeline, and you can scroll through that. You can see they have different vital records placed on the timeline, annulment of marriage, death of Henry VIII, then the separatist Robert Brown published. And so you could see this is where people start to get all up in arms about the religious movement and choose to move away. And then the Great Migration ends. So that's a fun little timeline to explore if you want to learn more about the context of your Mayflower ancestors. And then they have some great digitized works that you can look at as you view that for further context. Also, they do have, other than more into the lives and tribulations of the passengers and crew, they also have a modern day diaspora of all of the Mayflower descendants. So this is really cool. This is a modern day map that people submit that they want to be a part of after you prove your ancestry. So maybe I want to click on Mr. Bradford here. We'll see. And there are his descendants. I can click Enlarge Map. Click Enlarge Map. Well, maybe it's a little too difficult. But you can zoom in, and each pin is going to be one modern day descendant. So you can see the majority of them are in New England, but they're really everywhere, spread out. Even got some friends in Hawaii. And then once you click on the pin, it shows you their descendant. And sometimes, now this is what people submit. So they can, they'll send in like a headshot, and then they'll say who they're descended from. And see, Miss Cynthia Schultz is descended from 4 Mayflower passengers. And then she's got her family tree linked. So if you want to find other people in your family or people that are also descended from that Mayflower pilgrim, you can click on their family tree and see how related you are. And sometimes they even have, they even have a little blurb about what it means for them to be a Mayflower descendant. So you can scroll down and see, and once you prove your Mayflower descendancy, you can also be a part of this cool little club and mention what it means to be a Mayflower descendant to you. For example, Miss Renales says that she's a descendant of Patience Brewster Prince, and also John and Elizabeth Wing. And Mrs. Bertram says, it's an opportunity to recognize and thank all of our brave ancestors for making that perilous journey. I agree. I probably wouldn't make it. All right. So once you poke around on American Ancestors, you can go to Family Tree, where they have these silver books digitized. So it's really easy. We can just say, let's see here, I'm going to flip through this book and find a name. William Watson. Let's look for William Watson. Okay, and once you look, obviously, like with Ancestry or Family Search, you can add more filters. So I'm looking for a William Watson from Plymouth. Right here. And then once you click on it, it'll take you to the family tree. And you could see, now this book that I have with me, if you recall, was volume 25, and it was about Edward Winslow. So I see here John Watson, or William Watson, begat by John Watson, And then Lucy Marston, who was his mother, if you follow that maternal line, leads you to Elizabeth Winslow, and again through the maternal line, Isaac Winslow, and then through her paternal line, you can keep going until you find Edward Winslow. Okay, and so here you can see all the information about Edward Winslow, and you could see the sources, which are very important. You want to make sure that your tree has sources. All right. Well, I hope that gave you a little bit of insight on how easy it is to find out if you're a Mayflower descendant. I hope you join us next time. We are going to be talking about census records, I do believe. So go ahead and join us next month. We can't wait to have you, and I hope you learned something about your ancestry today. Have a good one.